I am Stephanie. I am 55.
I'm Jen. I am 45.
I'm Christina. I'm 33.
I'm Anna. I'm 32 years old.
Hi, I'm Janine. I am 49 years old.
Hi, I'm Dominique. I am 46.
I'm Dee Dee. I'm 60 years old.
And I'm Laura. I am 57 years old.
Welcome back to Interwovxn's second season of 2022, featuring conversations centered on sisterhood and, as always, celebrating and supporting women in middle life. We here at Interwoven are excited to exchange support this season with Renaissance Theater Works. Founded and led by women, celebrating 30 years of theater by women for everyone, and is the nation's second oldest professional theater dedicated to gender balance. They produce 3 intimate, moving shows per season in Milwaukee's Harbor District. Check out their website at rtw.com. That's r-t-w.com, and find them on social media. Again, that's rtw.com. In today's episode, sisters Christina and Anna share about their childhood and being the children of immigrants and navigating multiple cultures, establishing careers and financial security, mentorship, and prioritizing joy and pleasure. Remember to hit subscribe so that you can keep coming back, and to visit our website so that you can sign up for our newsletter and access all of our resources. Find us at interwoven.com. That's interwovxn.com.
I'm Christina. I'm 33. I live in Milwaukee. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm married with no kids, and I require quiet time alone a lot to recharge.
I'm Anna. I'm 32 years old. I'm also a practicing attorney. I recently moved to Chicago from Washington, D.C. Unlike my sister, I require a lot of social engagements and interaction to restore myself and recharge after working. I love to travel. I'm not married, but I have a long-term partner of 9 years. I'm the mom to a small Boston Terrier puppy.
Morning, Anna. How are you?
Morning. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy it's Friday. You know, you and I are sisters. We're really close in age, like a year and a half apart. What would you say it was like growing up together?
Maybe I'll start with a little background about our family. Both of our parents are immigrants from the Middle East, and we grew up in a very small town in Michigan. I think Christina carried a burden. You know, you carried kind of a burden of navigating like school and college and socializing and just kind of very common activities with kind of the restrictions of foreign parents and kind of navigating the Middle Eastern culture along with like the American culture. I would say we have kind of a special bond growing up, especially because, you know, you kind of push the boundaries on what was allowed. And of course, our parents were much stricter with you. We had to like take a lot of initiative, and we had to like argue to do certain things because, you know, culturally, I think our parents aren't as open, I would say, as like the standard American parent as far as like letting us go out and going to events, going to movies. For them, you know, they always felt like if they didn't know like the kids going, it was not something they wanted. I would say compared to a lot of my friends, I think we're closer than a lot of siblings I know. And I think a part of that is we kind of had to rely on each other, especially as the 2 oldest of 6 kids, in kind of navigating how we wanted our teenage years to be. And especially college, I think, like going to college in the U.S., living away from our parents, especially, you know, we were kind of setting the path for our younger siblings from a young age. Like we were very supportive of each other. We would talk things out. We would strategize how to approach things. I think that's something kind of interesting when, like in retrospect, I would say has helped our relationship be strong. Especially we felt responsibility, I think, for our 4 younger siblings. And of course, you know, trying to balance what our parents wanted and understanding our parents were like great people and just really cared about our well-being and our success as adults, but navigating that with also like ensuring that we were able to do things that we wanted to do. So I think, yeah, we had that supportive relationship.
I mean, you and I, well, we're the oldest, which I think is important for people to know about our relationship. So like you said, we broke our parents in a lot of ways, maybe me more so than you. We've been close too, like even going back to the beginning. When I was 5 and I guess you were 4 or 3, we moved into the house we grew up in. One nice feature of that house was that we had our own rooms, but we didn't sleep in them. We always slept together because we've just always been really close and just like joined at the hip. And that was our childhood. One of the things that you said about kind of having to bring our parents along in this culture that they weren't necessarily raised with was you and I always kind of have to get on the same page, or if they're frustrated with one of us being the translator for the other one in terms of, well, here's why this actually does make sense, or here's why I support this decision that she made. I think that's kind of how it's morphed in adulthood. So there were a lot of hard kind of parts of our childhood where we were trying to navigate American standards, but also what was expected of us in our parents' culture. But I think too, we had a really happy childhood because there's 6 of us in 6 years. There's twins in our family, but that's still crazy. And we're all super, super close. I think one of the things we got from our parents was being really curious. We all love to read to this day. And I remember Mom like teaching us all to read and being really involved with like the Scholastic Book Fair, which is still amazing to think about. Like if I could go to a Scholastic Book Fair today, I would have a great time. That feeling just gets me so excited. Mom being from Egypt and Dad being from Jordan, they travel. They went back to those places. They brought us with them. I think one cool thing about how we were raised, as I look around, and neither of us have kids like we mentioned in the intro, but some people don't bring their kids on trips or to restaurants, and Mom and Dad were not like that. Mom ran a very tight ship with us, but as a result, she was able to bring us anywhere. I mean, I remember being in Chicago around Christmas and them bringing us to a fancy restaurant and getting dirty looks when we walked in. And I remember by the end of the meal, someone came up to Mom and was like, wow, your kids are so well behaved. And so that was one cool thing about how we grew up. I guess what I'm trying to say is there were kind of drawbacks to the culture that we had to navigate, but those were some of the benefits. Like we got to travel a lot. In Arab culture, it's very communal, like kids are just a part of life and they come with you everywhere. And so I think that was cool too.
And also to add to that, we mentioned that Christina's the oldest of us 6, but our mom has 2 sisters. Our dad has 10 siblings. Christina is also the oldest cousin on my mom's side and one of the oldest cousins on my dad's side as well. So, we just had a very warm communal upbringing. We always had relatives in and out of our house. To this day when we go home for holidays, there's always relatives. I think that is a pretty, I would say, defining characteristic of Christina is that she's really been forced to kind of bridge the cultural gap, and not just for like our family, but also for our broader family, our cousins. We're all very, very close. Our cousins on both sides of the family, even with our second cousin. So we have a huge family. We're definitely a warm family. We, when issues come up as a group, we're able to discuss that. We're really lucky. Like we have a very supportive, open relationship. And I also feel like that extends to our cousins on both sides of the family. Our relationship is, I'd say, a consequence of our cultural upbringing, right? Like navigating 2 cultures, as well as having a huge family, as well as being some of the oldest. We want our younger cousins to learn from our mistakes, and we want to support them, and we want them to be like the best versions of themselves. I would just say that I think is kind of defining.
Yeah, our view of sisterhood is broader or deeper than just our true sisters. I know there's 4 of us in our family, women, 4 sisters. To your point, we have so many female cousins, a lot of them young, most of them younger, that we also treat like sisters and have frank conversations with. And then I know we also both have a lot of close female friends, and we have our chosen sisters too. And so I think the depth of our sisterhood has been like a springboard to build other close female relationships on. And I really appreciate that because I think women get a bad rap, like a lot of women, of like not liking each other. And I've just found that to be not true and oversimplified. I mean, most of the women in my life are awesome, whether they're my real sisters or my chosen sisters. So I think we were talking about when we were young, we were always really close physically and otherwise. We were literally like sharing a bed probably until we were in high school. And we preferred it that way. And like I would be bad, and my mom, our punishment would be that we would sleep apart. Especially me, I was like not okay with that. I would just like have a meltdown. And then one thing that I think is interesting is when I left home for college, you and I literally never lived near each other or in the same state or anything ever again. I went to college in Ann Arbor. You ended up in Evanston. I ended up in Madison for grad school. You went to DC for grad school. Only recently, you moved back to the Midwest, and now we're sort of neighbors. We're like an hour and a half apart, and it's been so much fun just because the dream to live in the same city. Like we would always get on the phone and say, here's what I'm doing tonight, or here's what you're doing tonight. And oh my God, wouldn't it be amazing if we lived in the same city? And now I think this might be the closest we'll get for a while.
Yeah, more like the same street would be ideal, like next door neighbors.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy to think we're still so close and we haven't lived by each other. So how do you think we do that? Like, how has our relationship grown or changed into adulthood?
I guess I haven't really like thought about that, because I think college, I mean, we were the farthest we were like 5-6 hour drives, but I felt like I still saw you pretty frequently. But we talk a lot. We've always talked a lot. No, I mean, I think we probably text at least 4 times a week. We probably get on the phone once every week, maybe. It's weird because I feel like we can also go without speaking for like 2 weeks, and then it never feels like weird to start talking again. And then I remember like one time during COVID, we talked on the phone for like 4 hours. I mean, it's helpful. We have a lot in common. We look to each other for support in a lot of things, like in our career, in our relationship. And I think also, you touched on this briefly. I think even like when we got our first jobs, it was, what do we do with like money? What's investing? What's a 401k? And, we were in such a position, I think, when we started working where, and I also think for our parents, these were not things they talked about. We wanted to be informed. And I think that goes back to our parents always really, wanted us to see the world. They wanted us to read. They always pushed us to study, to read, to explore. And I think that's really probably like the biggest effect they've had on both of our lives. Christina, we went to Mexico together. We went to Morocco with one of our other sisters. Like 4 of us went to Thailand one year. So, we love to explore and travel. Back to that whole money thing, we have, a lot of younger cousins and siblings. So we put together this, guide. We also want to help the younger generation. And I think that's another big theme that affects our relationship, is I think our parents have always wanted to help and support each other. It's very communal. We feel that strongly in a lot of ways. And one of the ways that's, we express that is through creating like a guide like this and, working with our younger siblings. I think we get a lot out of it. Like, we love helping our younger family members. We want to see them do well. We want to support them. We want to give them resources we didn't necessarily have. And I think that can also kind of transition into our lives as well as how we engage in our community. Mm-hmm. For example, I think something awesome about you, Christina, is how, you really get engaged in the community. I think a good example of that is Big Brothers, Big Sisters, where, you got paired with a younger girl in Milwaukee, and you've kind of acted like as an adult support. You provided guidance and kind of like a mentor role. I love that you did that. I think especially how much we care about our family, but it's also, I think because we also want to add to our communities, and, our dad's in healthcare, and, I think we grew up also with these values of service where our parents are very caring through like church and through my dad's profession, always wanting to help people. I've seen Christina really also embody those kind of values. Christina had cancer when she was 26. Thankfully, she's at 5 years remission this year. Sorry.
Well, you and we talk a lot about communities, and I think we can definitely circle back to health. I didn't even really think about this. You bringing up Big Brothers, Big Sisters, like I didn't even really put together that that's a chosen sister, right? I went into that program being like, okay, what am I good at? I'm not perfect at it, but like being a sister and finding a sister in the community. And I think that kind of goes back how our relationship is a springboard for all the other kind of sisterly relationships in our lives. We didn't have that model of the type of women that we are. In a way, we're a lot like our mom. She's really strong. She's super smart. I always said, especially after getting sick, like she's the person I want on my apocalypse team. She's very level-headed in a crisis. She's very practical. She won't have a meltdown in a crisis. She was also a stay-at-home mom, which you and I really can't relate to. I mean, who knows what the future holds, but I think I speak for both of us. And when I say we really can't imagine not doing what we do after all of the work that we put into getting here, I think because we had to navigate that part of life, we're navigating those younger women along with us. And I think now we're moving into this new phase together, which I think is a lot more interesting to talk about, which is like you said, we're coming up on that middle life, middle career phase. And I think even though we're just starting to have these conversations, I have felt a shift recently in myself that up until a year or two ago, I felt like I had all the time in the world to decide to get married and have kids. And now I feel like, there is that biological clock if you want to do it a certain way. And so I've been feeling that a lot more acutely. And I know I've like brought it up with you, like, are we having kids? Because I feel like part of our relationship is I don't want to do anything without you. Like I want to have all those experiences with you, which might be really weird for other people listening to understand, but like that's how close we are. I'm just curious, where are you at on like having kids? What thought have you put into that so far in like motherhood?
Yeah. So I guess I'm 32 years old. And I think, like you said, we're really lucky. We've been able to get established in our careers. We both have, when you're married, like I have a long-term partner where now I think for me, it's kind of like early 30s, same with you, where you're starting to think about that. I've been starting to think about it more, but I think I'm in an interesting position where I feel like I could have kids and enjoy it. I also could not have kids and enjoy it because, again, like we've been talking about, we really enjoy mentoring our cousins and our little sisters. And one of our younger sisters actually had a child. So we're now aunts as of this year. And that's like really fun. So I guess I'm feeling like I have a lot of outlets if I want to have the child rearing stuff. I think the American culture is a lot more individualistic. We also, I don't think, have a lot of the same social services as other countries. Usually you need both parents to work to support a family, things like that. I think there's an opportunity or like a need really in U.S. culture for more support when you have children. It's hard to have that kind of communal support. I guess I don't feel super pressured to make a decision about children because I'm okay knowing that like if I don't end up having kids, my sister has a child, she'll probably have more children. I can always really focus maternal instincts towards her children, take them for the weekend, put my energy into my nieces and nephews.
There's a lot of ways to mother is kind of what you're getting at.
But you also, I think you'll be interesting to hear from because like you said, we've been talking about this a lot and we've talked about this too, is like we're at a time in our lives where we can be really intentional. Like we don't need to do anything. We don't need to get married if we don't want to. We don't need to have kids if we don't want to. And I think we're both trying to be very mindful and intentional on how we approach things. So maybe you can talk a little bit about what you've been thinking about children.
Yeah, I've been struggling because I really don't know what I want. And I think one thing that I think it'd be helpful for you to know that I'm a Pisces. So I'm very much go with the flow. I hate making decisions. I want to see where the current takes me. I want to leave things a little bit open. I've really been struggling with the decision, which is what I want it to be, of whether to have children or not. Part of me wishes that someone else could make the decision for me. That's not what I want. But I've been struggling with it because I don't feel super strongly one way or the other. I think when I look around at other people who are parenting in general, I'll be honest, it looks really hard. That scares me. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for my life to shift in that way. I love kids. I love being around them. I love with our nieces, Anna mentioned, we have one on my side and then my part sister has one as well. I love holding them. I love that feeling. I think if I were to have children, I would love those young years, just the cuddles and the sweetness and all of that. I don't know, as they age, how good of a parent I would be. So that intimidates me. I think too, a lot of the things, Anna, that you touched on go into my ambivalence toward having children. As we've mentioned a couple times, we both have these really demanding jobs. I don't understand. I guess when I think about parenthood, something's got to give. What is going to give there? Is it work? And that I struggle with, that lack of support. That's the part I struggle with, is where in my life could I move things around to make time to be like the type of parent that I would want to be. And then I also think about, our family is all spread out. Our parents live in Michigan with our sister and our niece and her husband, and then sister in Colorado, a brother in Washington, a brother in New York City. And then you and I are about an hour and a half apart, with you being in Chicago and me being here in Milwaukee. So I don't have any family here. That to me is overwhelming. You could be like idealistic and say, oh, well, my friend network or my neighborhood community would help. But then I think about, have I really helped any of my friends parent or ease the burden of their parenting other than maybe visiting and bringing a meal when a baby is born? Not really. And I think that's a function of being raised here in this culture that's very individualistic and is like, you got it. You made the choice. You're alone in this choice, right? That's overwhelming and scary to me.
It is interesting because I do feel like half our dad's siblings live in the Middle East still. One's in Australia, but we did see them a lot. They would come and spend summers. I think for me, that's also a big thing. I'm in this position of there's so many options and I have a lot of freedom right now and I can take my life in a number of different directions. It's just been nice having you to talk these things out with. I think a great benefit of having a sister is being able to work through these big life decisions together.
One thing too, when it goes into the calculus of whether to have children or not, that you and I talk about, maybe not in the context of having children, but finding equality within like a domestic partnership. And it feels like a struggle. It feels like a struggle to divide work equally. I think my partner, I would give him an A. I mean, he does a lot. I had to point things out to him, right? But I also think part of it isn't even him. I think it's what was modeled for us. Our dad is older. He's 74, so just another generation, and he had a very demanding career as well as a physician. I think that we saw our mom kind of do everything and take care of everything. I don't know if we unintentionally model after that and do more than our share. That's one thing that I struggle with, is if I kind of had to pull you along to contribute at home as much as I do. And even though you're doing that, a lot of it comes after asking you to do that. I struggle with layering all the duties of childcare on top. I know there have been studies that show even in a household where domestic chores were maybe split equally before children, once children enter the mix, women end up doing even more housework, let alone the childcare. So I don't know, that goes into my calculus as well. And I guess, the short answer is I still don't know. I feel like if I had to say what I'm feeling now, it's closer to no.
I think we're just having very frank conversations about what it would look like for the split of duties at home. And we have demanding jobs. We know that if we do just make this decision, we're going to be doing a lot more of the child rearing, obviously. And even as much as I think we both have partners that help, but again, we've had to ask for the help. It shouldn't even be called help, to be honest, because we both live here. Women are really socialized like that. And I think it's interesting too with our parents, because yes, our parents had very like traditional gender roles in that. But our dad is very progressive in a lot of ways. He still cooks, he cleans, he does a lot of these things, especially I think for a Middle Easterner, which, the gender roles I would say are even more traditional than in this culture. He works a very demanding job, obviously still does, works a lot of hours, but he would still cook. We did grow up with that perspective. We were actually talking about this, we have 5 siblings. Even when we're home, we are the ones helping with the dishes, serving the food. Our brothers don't do that, which is so crazy to think about in this day and age. The women in our house, in our own generation, are still doing more of the kind of traditional housekeeping things. And even with willing partners and family support, we don't want to be in a situation where we become resentful or unhappy due to our own choices.
I feel like we've talked a lot about how much we both work, which is sad. How do we take care of ourselves?
It's funny because I think we're kind of opposites in some ways, but also very similar in other ways. I'm more extroverted. When I finish a day of work, I want to go have drinks with friends or make dinner plans and just trying a new restaurant, catching up with people, taking my dog on a long walk. But the way I kind of take care of myself is carving out time to socialize and have fun, making sure we carve out time to take vacation. I'm actually going to Korea next week. I do want some kind of time to decompress and relax and not have plans.
One thing I was thinking when you're talking about actually planning vacations and taking vacations and enjoying life is prioritizing pleasure and joy. There's a couple things that you said that I connected with. I want to find a little bit of what feels like a vacation in every day. So for me, that often looks like a walk outside in the morning or a run. Time just slows down, and I make it a priority to get up early enough to have enough time to do that before work starts, because it just sets the tone for my whole day. I think I'm more introverted than extroverted, but I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that. I love people. I love my friends. I love my network. At the same time, I love my alone time. Before I do any of the movement or being outside that we talked about in a day, I actually just make myself coffee and I sit there and drink it and read a book for the first hour or so of my day. The introversion extroversion thing is interesting because in my 20s, I would go through a week, couldn't wait till that happy hour at the end of the week. I don't do that anymore. That doesn't even sound fun to me. I don't like to have plans on a Friday. Usually I like to cook something, make a pasta recipe and then just sit with a big bowl of pasta and maybe watch TV or hang out with my partner and just enjoy a meal and a glass of wine. That to me is an amazing Friday. Going to bed early, getting up early, having all of Saturday ahead of me. That's just chef's kiss. So, and that's happened more and more over time as I've gotten older. We were even talking about the other day holidays with Thanksgiving and Christmas, even though our culture and our family is so family oriented. I started trying to institute this rule recently where I'll do one holiday, but not the other. Because I think during COVID, when we just got to sit there for all of Thanksgiving weekend or all of Christmas, what a luxury to like finish work on a Wednesday or a Thursday and then have 4 or 5 days or a week of no plans and nowhere to go. To me, that was just so restful for the soul. I think one of the privileges of aging is understanding what works for you and what doesn't work and how you function optimally. And that's been, to me, such a gift of aging.
I think something great about our relationship is we both have done such different things, and my life's starting to look more like yours. It's just interesting to see how we continue to change as we grow older and how our interests change and our priorities change, being able to kind of navigate growing older together. I think a big theme for us now is we have a lot of freedom right now. I think that's something that's also really shaping these years of our lives. We don't need to have kids. For me, for example, like I don't own a property, I don't own a car, and I realized I really like this lifestyle. I really value right now that freedom for me to be able to just like get up and go when I want, travel when I want. You know, I got a dog this year in June, and this is really my first major responsibility. I think for both of us as well, we don't want to end up doing things because we feel like we should or we feel like it's what everyone else does. We want to be very thoughtful, intentional. That's something I think has been really great about our 30s.
When you think about aging, is there a certain way you want to age?
This is probably not a very traditional response. I want to make sure I make time for what I want to do because I really believe life just flies by. I think as you get older, it feels like time goes faster. I just kind of want to stay true to the things that bring me joy and making sure that I make time for them. And I really believe your daily habits are your life. Things could change. Like I might come to a point in my life, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like, I really want to settle down. I want to have a house. I want to have children. It's not now, but if it comes to that point of time in my life, I just want to feel like I have permission to do what I want, no matter what people think. As women, we're really socialized to take care of people. And so I think it's really important to carve time out for yourself. You have one life.
I think taking the time to do something that makes you happy every day, that is what enables you to show up and be a nice human at work or with your partner or all those other things. When I think about aging, I think about wanting to do it gracefully. So not trying to hang on to youth. There's a good way to hang on to youth, right? Like we're always youthful at heart and playful and all of that. I think at this point, I just start to think about, you just start to shift in little ways like that. And I kind of am leaning into it. And like you said, I had a major health event at 26 where I had cancer, and it was just like, whoa, like what am I doing with my life? And I think that has informed my view of aging a lot. It's really a privilege, you know? I had a pretty close call where maybe that's not something I would have been able to do, because there are, you know, unpleasant changes that happen as you age. And I don't know how much of this is from what I went through health-wise or just aging naturally. It's like lower energy or aches and pains, but I just try to frame it up. This is a privilege to even just get to be here. I had this mentor early on in my career who was maybe 15 years older than me at the time. And I remember on her 40th birthday, she took the day off and she said she was going to just reflect and celebrate. I internalized that. And that isn't something I did for myself in my 20s, but I do it now. She had 2 children. She was a partner at a law firm. And it's so funny. She posted something on social media this year. She turned 50. She took a week off in the town she grew up in and doing everything that she loved. And I messaged her and I just said, I remember when you took a day off for your 40th, and it stuck with me. And I did that this year.
I think our mom really put aside her fun activities. I rarely remember her ever leaving us at home. Like, I don't think she's ever done that. She really like devoted everything to us, all her time. Our mom modeled the sacrificing all your needs and your interests for your children. Of course, Christina and I don't have children now.
Is that why?
I think that has shown us, but really carving out that time for yourself, because life is short and everyone deserves it. As we age and move forward, how do you want to dig deeper into our sisterhood?
Honestly, just doing what we're doing, like just continuing to prioritize each other and hang out. I think we're kind of on a cadence of maybe visiting each other, taking turns every other month. And I also think just continuing to support the choices that we make or don't make. You know, we don't know I don't know if you'll get married. I don't know if I'll have kids. I don't know if you'll have kids. And just be honest and support each other when we're struggling with things. What about you? How would you like to dig deeper into our sisterhood as we age?
No, I just completely agree with what you said, especially, if there comes a point where we have children, continuing to have this great relationship and, source of support, continuing to prioritize taking fun trips together and enjoying life together.
Accountability buddies.
Exactly.
What's one thing that you would ask of me in this next chapter?
Continue to just carve out time for fun experiences. Again, prioritizing fun, scheduling fun.
One thing I would ask of you, I think, just never be worried to come to me with anything. I would just hope that you use me as a resource as we age for whatever you need. So it was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah, this was great. This was better than our normal work mornings.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
Thanks for joining us today. We invite you to hit subscribe and to keep coming back each week for a new empowering conversation between sisters. We look forward to seeing you at our website, where you'll find our newsletter and other amazing resources. Visit interwoven.com, that's interwovxn.com, to sign up today. This show's copyright is October of 2022. We want to thank our sponsors and affiliates, as well as our producers, Teresa Kopak, Rebecca Jankowski, and Jen Gilmore of Soundport Studios. All original music was created and performed by Colleen Webb.